introduce yourself? I mean, we know you're the husband that was hollering on the at the light. I looked over. He looked over and said, "Hey, can I get your number?" Okay.
Hello, how you doing? I am Chosen. I am LaWanna Kelly's husband, and I am chosen into the motivational speaker, coming from Detroit, born and raised, not only for the youth, but for everybody to let people know that they are chosen and that they are not left behind.
Very good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. What up, though? Deputy David Felton, Wayne County Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon. You could do better. Now, this is the day that the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it, Pastor. Now, my name is Tarence Wheeler, Detroit Public Schools.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It is truly a blessing to be here this afternoon. My name is Jeff Manson. I'm a detective with the Detroit Police Department Sex Crimes Unit, and I've been with the Detroit Police Department for 31 years in June.
You were, I don't believe.
Oh.
You was 10 when you started.
Right. Black don't crack, Doc.
Yeah, black don't crack and beige don't age. What? Beige don't age. So I am just gonna throw some questions at my brothers, and then if you don't hear what you want to hear, feel free to raise your hands and I'll come and let you ask your question. Is that okay? Okay, so the first question is for all of y'all. These are just some opening questions. The first question is, what does sexual assault mean to you, and how do you define consent? It's a great question.
I'll just answer, I'll be the first one. No means no. No means no. And I'll defer to the detective. He'll give the legal term in terms of sexual assault.
So, consider sexual assault, and we try to teach people this all the time, in certain areas of the body. When you're touching certain areas, or when a person touches certain areas of the body, it's what we consider like bad touches. We try to teach our kids this. It's good to see a young person here. I wish there were more young people at this event. When they touch what we call the breast or chest area, the genital area, the buttocks, and the inner thigh is considered sexual assault. A lot of people don't understand if an individual touches you in those areas, and we try to talk to our kids all the time, if an individual touches you in those areas, that is considered a sexual assault. Yes, we have a lot of issues at our schools where things go unreported, and I know we're going to probably talk about that, but we have a lot of issues in our schools where our children are being touched inappropriately and it's not being reported. Even though there's something that we call delay reporting, it's not a problem with reporting something at a later date and time, but we would prefer that you report it as soon as it happens. At schools, at most schools, Detroit Public Schools, I know they're mandated reporters. If something is reported to a staff member, they're mandated reporters, and they're supposed to report it to, usually they have a social worker at the school. Not all of them have a social worker at the school. They don't. But they're supposed to report it. DPS has their own security police. They report it to DPS, and then they'll turn around and they'll do a report, and they'll turn the case over to sex crimes for someone in our unit to handle the case. But we have from elementary school students to junior high school students and high school students that are doing inappropriate touching, and to the point whereas we have a high volume of sexual assaults that take place in school that go unreported.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them go unreported.
Thank you.
If I could just expound on that too, I think it's important to realize as parents, uncles, aunts who have young children and things of that nature, to the detective's point, going to school when I was younger is not the same as going to school when your children were younger. I mean, as the children are currently.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
There are policies and legislation that have been passed in the last 20 or 30 years that make what he just said inappropriate touching. And I'll confess, 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade, or whatever, I was trying to smack a girl in the butt. That's me. I'm just saying, I don't know what everybody else is doing. And I thought it was cute. And the thing is, the girl would be like, stop. And then now she turned around and squared up. Like, some people, they'll square up like, don't touch me anymore. It's different. And those were times they would call your parent and, they'll, you get suspended for 2 days, whatever the case may be. However, 13, 14, 15, years old, like he said, they're calling the police. It goes on your record. And in some cases, you could have a criminal sexual conduct offense that you're not necessarily even aware about. I said all that to say that it's important that as parents, as loved ones, if you know somebody, you got to tell them, don't play like that. I got 2 daughters and a granddaughter. And I told all of them, we should be like, don't somebody touch your sugar bowl, whatever you want to call it. You have to have these conversations now
Sugar bowl.
and let them
Sugar
know
bowl.
that it's not appropriate and it's not funny and it's not cute.
Right.
And it's not they just playing and all that. And even they may be just playing. But the thing is, if they're caught in the wrong set of circumstances, the wrong environment, people will take that and they will run with it and they will ruin their life.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear. You cannot, it ain't like it was when we were in school in the 70s and 80s, but I'm telling my age. And even in the 90s, things have changed, legislations have passed, and policies have been established. So I just wanted to share that part.
Thank you so much. You really just went into my next question, but go ahead, because the next question is, have you ever discussed good and bad touch with your children?
If I can interject real quick, Doc, I think that it's also important to talk about young men being in safe spaces to communicate that I've been touched inappropriately.
Yes.
Oftentimes we don't realize that boys can be hurt as well. And then when I was younger, to Dave's point, you go through this life and you thinking that I like her so I can touch her, or she likes you and she can touch you.
Come on.
And not getting full consent. And so, then you get a little bit older, you realize that was wrong, or someone that did something to you inappropriately. But I just need the environment to shift where young men can come and talk to adults and get support. Oftentimes we don't have those safe spaces to communicate that I've been touched, or that it's not that I'm not tough, it's just that someone violated me and no one's here to help me.
I think also that it starts off with words in what you say to people, so you have to have boundaries, because it starts off with people saying how pretty or how cute you are and things like that. And that's the part starting of grooming a person is with words. Mm-hmm. So you have to be careful and when people are talking to you and make sure you set boundaries in terms of what they're saying to you.
And I ain't trying to steal your thunder, Doc.
Let me tell you something. My thunder can't be stolen.
Okay, cool.
Because it don't belong to nobody but me.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I think, too, a lot of times, we find ourselves as adults trying to tell our young people or give them direction based on experience that we had. And so that's unfair and it's irresponsible. What I mean is this. If I live 20, 25 years and then I go back to my child and I'm expecting them to respond to the information I'm giving them that I've acquired over 25 years, that's not realistic. And so we got to understand, you got young people transitioning from childhood to adolescence. Remember, you was hot and bothered, you going through puberty, your body doing stuff and all that. You think you're the only person in the world, your mind can't even handle all that. And so again, we have to use prudence, we have to use wisdom when we're talking to our young people, but you got to have a conversation. You got to talk their language. And we all, I wish I could say it like I want to say it, but I can't. But I told my daughters, you don't want to be that girl. I said, I better not ever hear about you sucking on, So, but this is the way I talk to my babies, though. They my babies. There was a time, ladies and gentlemen, where parents used to be the first source of information for their children.
Yes.
Okay? That's long gone. Hypothetically speaking, Doc, yep. I tell my son, he's 32 now, but I say he's 7, 8 years old. I'm trying to beat the system, and I want to tell him my version. Miles, sit down, bruh. I want to talk to you. What you want to talk about, Dad? I want to talk to you about sex, son. Okay, Dad, what you want to know? My point is this. Parents have dropped down probably to like the 20th or 30th source of information. He's already gotten some sort of information from either social media, his friends, or television, or whatever. So we got to make sure that we hold this space that he talked about, that sacred space. And you are your parents, you are your child's first teacher. I don't care if you're a crackhead, if you're a dancer, if you whatever it is. Your responsibility is to use your influence to let your child know what is right, what is wrong, and don't teach them just out of your deficiencies. Expose them to what they need so you can protect them. Because that's what they're gonna do. They're vulnerable. And they're gonna wonder, mama, daddy, why you let this happen to me? Why you let somebody do this or do that to me? So forget being politically correct. I'm letting my kids know, listen, anybody touch you, anybody do this, tell daddy. It's okay, we're gonna deal with it. I'm gonna deal with it. Y'all might have to start me a prison ministry, but I'm gonna deal with it. But the thing is, have that conversation and make a safe space. You gotta make a safe space for these people, y'all. You got to.
You gotta do, go ahead, Schultz.
I think I wanna roll off of that, because when he said that, you know, it kind of triggered what I had said when I was talking to my daughter. And my wife was in the living room with me. And my daughter, she came to the table and she kind of had teary eyes. And she was telling me, like, Dad, you know, I met this new boy, and, you know, and all this kind of stuff or whatever, right? And, you know, I come from hard knocks. So she was telling me about the boy, and I was like, what's going on? She's like, well, yeah, I like him and all this kind of stuff. And then she got to telling me, you know, he do this and he grabbed me and he do this and that. So I say, what? And then I just got down to the nitty gritty. And then my wife right there, and I started talking to her. I said, look, if that boy grabbed you right here, and like you said, I was telling her in different lanes. You know, I was telling her the way the world is going to tell her. And I said, if that boy grab you there, he do this. He trying to take your money. He trying to take advantage of you. He's trying to have sex with you. He's trying to do all these things. And I mean, I was just going to the grid with her, right? And my wife like, babe, don't talk to her like that. I say, no, I got to, you know, because that's who gonna be out there talking to her. And I want to tell y'all, listen to me today. Lord, and behold, my daughter she came back to me a month later, telling me exactly what I told her that boy was going to do, and that's exactly what he did. And she came in tears, and she said, Daddy, and this is the part that I love to hear. She said, Daddy, you were right.
Yes, I know we love to be right as the parents, but can I say this, because y'all will stay here forever if I let you.
But I think it's important. It's important to acknowledge those feelings of the woman. Dr. Jackson. Respectfully.
Thank you. I have a question for Jeff. And the question is, as a detective of sex crimes, how often do you see men making police reports of being sexually assaulted, and are women commonly prosecuted?
Those are two very good questions. Men do not file sexual assault reports nearly as much as they should. It's one is a matter of being ashamed, want to be, you know, the big bad person, that a person can't sexually assault them. That's false. That's a lie. So yeah, I think last year we may have had maybe 14 cases where males actually filed sexual assault reports.
And were the women prosecuted?
I said they filed the reports. I didn't say that they actually
went anywhere.
Well, those cases, I think 4 of them, 4 not in custody warrants were submitted, but they haven't actually gone before the. They haven't actually been signed or denied at this time. Wow. So we don't have a high volume of cases where women are actually prosecuted. Now, it may be a situation where it may be a woman on another woman more so than it is a woman on a man. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay, my next question. I got questions. You can't say nothing. You cannot. This is for David. At what age or situation did you recognize how prevalent sexual assault is, and what happened and how did it make you feel? Look at your face.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Not as a personal experience, just generally speaking?
you were, generally speaking. This ain't just, When did you, as a man, because this is the thing.
So,
a lot of times we, as women, don't know how men think or feel. And we don't even know when they recognize that it was an issue. So that's where the question comes from. It ain't you personally, but when did you see it as an issue in the world?
Well, I think I can think of unfortunately, several occasions. I think one of the ones that's most pronounced that stick out in my mind is in college.
Okay.
It wasn't something that, okay, you know how women call men dogs, right? I'm getting there.
They call themselves dogs.
So
Go ahead.
I wasn't a dog. I was
or
like,
a mutt. I'm a dog.
So
I'm a mutt.
So Dr. Jackson, I wasn't a dog. I was like a little poodle.
A mutt.
Little puppy, yeah.
Were you a mutt?
And
Okay.
so what happened was I still had I was still kind of sensitive to, my dad raised me to be a gentleman and stuff like that. So when I would see a woman or a young lady that was drunk or something like that, I would be like, you need to go to your dorm or try to find some girls to take care of or something like that. But then I would see, guys try to take advantage of her in that vulnerable state. And I think I went back to my floor because all the basketball players stayed on the same floor. And, they made reference to a young lady being in the room, you want to go in the room. And it was just a horrible experience for me. And then to see her on campus after that, and, she seemed to act like she was okay.
But she wasn't.
But I know she wasn't okay.
No, she wasn't.
So I think that's probably one of the more pronounced things. There's some other instances that I could mention as well, but that's one that I was like, man. And then I didn't have no respect for them dudes either. I called them all kind of names and stuff like that. Like, I can't even get down with that.
The thing that I appreciate you saying is that, because sometimes we don't hold each other or our peers accountable for that type of
And let me say
behavior.
this, there weren't basketball players that were going in the room. There were some other people, because we are basketball players. So I don't want to make sure I indict that, but indict them. But it was just like, I had no love for them. They're like, nah, dog, Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's good. Chosen, this question is for you. Being a husband of a survivor woman who was sexually assaulted as a child, what advice can you give others on how they can be supportive as a spouse?
Well, that's a good question. I give my wife space.
Okay.
Time, and she has to process her emotions and what she go through, and just being supportive. And I've always listened to her, and that's one of the important things is just listening to her. And when she's ready to move, then I move. And I think that's very important. When somebody has been sexually assaulted, you don't want to go ahead of them. They have to be the lead. Because all the time, most of the time we always want to be the lead in things, but, when somebody's been hurt or sexually assaulted, you allow them to lead and let them take you to the places that they want to go. So I think that's very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Wheeler, you talked about creating safe space for men to talk about their issues. And so how do we do that? What would your suggestion be? And is it a safe space just for men who maybe have been assaulted? But where do the men go who have been inappropriate in their behaviors?
Let me tackle the first part.
You have to be jail. Everybody don't go to jail, but okay.
Intentional about creating that space. Talking to your friends and listening. If you can listen, you learn, then you lead. And you guys get together and you talk about what's really going on and having real conversations with men. Far too often, we've been victimized and we don't have no one to tell. A wise woman once told me, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to do something in your community. And so if I can create a space where men feel like I can share with you, and then I don't tell nobody. Oftentimes, if I tell you something, the betrayal kicks in, Doc. I tell you that you want me to be vulnerable, and I tell you, all of a sudden, now it's not for you to tell your mom or your sister. That's called betrayal. Men, it takes us a long time to get there, but once we get there, now we didn't, because we're emotional too.
Yes.
Probably more emotional than women, but we haven't had the space to do it. We have so many stigmas that we have to eradicate on a daily basis just to get to the point where I can talk to this brother about what's going on. Sometimes you do it through a sporting event. Sometimes you do it at a cigar lounge. Wherever you can get 2 or 3 to touch and agree, you can do it. You can make it happen. And that person can trust you that you're going to be who you say you are. But I'll piggyback on something that was said earlier. We're talking about language. With young people, I don't know where we went off and grandma started saying, this is your cootie cat, and this is your Peter Weeder. No, this is your vagina, and this is your penis.
Yeah.
Let's have a real conversation with young people. Because, like Dave said, the information is already out there. It's a 24-hour news cycle. All they see is TNA a lot of times on social media. We do a lot as adults to try to combat that. Once a kid gets to school, Doc, they've done their job. Their success is predicated on adult participation. Who in that building you can find to help you cross that finish line? One champion is all you need.
One champion is all you need. Mr. Mason, this next question is for you, and we're getting down. And so if you have questions, I need you to be ready to raise your hands quickly. How long does a person who has been sexually assaulted have to make a police report? That's so good. I had to come over. I got to come over. I got to hear this answer.
We don't have a designated time for a person to file a police report, but we would prefer to you file a report as soon as possible. We would prefer to you file as soon as possible. So let me give you an idea. So if a person if you were sexually assaulted and there was something we call penetration, and we're going to be very blunt about this. We say penetration, that means not just penis to vagina. It can be anal or it can be oral sex. We would need you to go have a sexual assault examination conducted within 5 days. Even if you've washed up, taken a shower, washed your mouth, brushed your teeth, there is still a possibility for DNA to be collected during a sexual assault examination. So even if you don't wish to pursue the case at that time, because we don't force our survivors to pursue a case, but if you have an opportunity to go have a sexual assault examination conducted within 5 days, go have the exam done and then follow up with the detective or officer later on. We won't close the case. We will have the case inactive until you are ready to go forward. So even though you don't have to report it as soon as it happens, we would prefer for you to report it as soon as it happens. We always have something called delay reporting. We have a lot of situations. I know a lot of you probably have seen the situation where one of our retired sergeants was being accused, not being accused, well, until proven. He was accused of sexually assaulting women back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Thank God that they finally caught up with this person, but those ladies actually had sexual assault exams done back then.
Okay.
Is the reason why they're able to connect him to at least five different cases. So even if you don't wish to pursue the case at that particular time, and there's penetration, please go get a sexual assault exam done, and it'll help your case later on down the line.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, and that's important for us to know. I am just going to add, this is for all of you all, this is a closing question from us. If you all have a question, I'm going to have you raise your hands. We're just going to have 3 people to ask questions. Y'all ready? Okay, I see a hand back there. This one. Okay, hold on, let me do this question. What message would you give to other men about their role in ending sexual violence? Ooh, that's a good question. Good question.
I would say model behavior.
Whew, don't you know, I love that.
Model the behavior, because oftentimes maybe in another series we can talk about how sex is introduced to boys and girls is different.
Yes.
And if I'm talking real, it's a situation where if the rite of passage that some men want to give to young boys who are not ready for the sexual encounter.
Right.
You wouldn't do that for my little sister, but you would do it for me.
Yes.
And the aunts or the uncles and the brothers and the cousins think this is cool, when in fact, it's not cool. We're not going to pretend like R. Kelly was the first one to touch on young people. So if we go back into some of our family history, how old was granddaddy and how old was grandma? I'm going to leave it right there.
He said he's going to leave it right there. You're preaching. Anybody else? What messages?
So first, let me ask this question. Does everyone in here know the age of consent in the state of Michigan?
I do.
16 is the age of consent. So anything that happens prior to the age of 16, you can't consent to doing anything sexual. So,
even if the other person is younger.
absolutely.
So if a person, you need to hear this, because sometimes girls like younger guys.
Absolutely.
So if she,
Sometimes old women like younger guys.
I know. Yes. Hallelujah. Okay, cougars. Down, girls. But it's just really important. It's really important that people know the law. Because when you don't know the law, ignorance of the law is not a defense of the law.
Absolutely not.
You have to know, especially when you have children. I have a son. So when my son was young, he was an athlete. So he had muscles and a six-pack and all of that. And Facebook had just come out, and his picture for his profile was his six-pack. I said, no, sir. You're not advertising your six-pack to just the little girls at your school, because Facebook has predators.
Yes, ma'am.
So I talked to him and taught him about that. It's so important because even as a young man, it is very possible for someone to prey on him.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing that's really important, because I love when you said that how we introduce sexual discussions with our girls is very different than with our boys. When I had a radio show, I remember there was a teacher who was a female teacher who had sex with her male student. And the guys on the show with me were saying, man, where were them teachers when I was in school?
Right.
Because that's what they say. And I was sitting there going, y'all making my stomach hurt. Because you would not say that about your daughter.
Right.
And so the same value we place on abstinence and waiting and purity, we should have the same for our young men.
Absolutely. As men, we have to do better.
Yes.
We have to do better when it comes to talking to our sons.
Yes.
Because for some reason, and I'm sure men, and I don't know why, it's encouraged for little boys to have sex.
Oh, yeah, it's encouraged.
Which messes you up in the head. Once you do it, it'll mess you up in the head. We should be trying to discourage our young men from doing that and focus on other things other than having sex.
Yeah.
That's a serious issue.
That is a very serious issue.
Very serious issue.
I saw somebody's hand in the back that had a question. Stand up, because I ain't running back there. I'm old. I'm 60. 60. And I'm blessed to be 60. I'm so happy to be 60. I don't know
So
what
while
to
we're
do.
trying to find another question, I think too, having more conversations like this, and having men who are here you go.
No, you can go ahead because you might answer the question.
I'm gonna say I'm giving this to her.
Oh, you got an extra. You better be quiet.
Is that cool? Thank you. She my boss at work, so she thinks she's gonna be my boss here too.
That's not true. That's not true.
She a boss at home too, Doc. You just bossy. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll just answer the question. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hey, Sydney.
My question for the fellas in law enforcement, and I think this is such an age-old question. When a sexual assault case goes to trial, why is it more often than not the result is that the perpetrator just gets a slap on the wrist?
Boy, that's a great question. That's a great question. We ask the same thing. A lot of times it appears as if, and I can only speak for Wayne County. In other counties, it seems like people get higher sentences than they do in Wayne County. It's sad that some of our perpetrators get less time for sexual assaults than they would do for robbing a bank. And it's crazy. So a lot of times, and this is crazy, so a lot of times when the defendant takes a plea, the prosecutors actually have to talk to the victim, survivor, and discuss with them before they make a decision. To me, I think they let a lot of these guys off too easily. I mean, it's really sad. You know, a person sexually assaults someone and they getting, and it's very bad situation. Had a person at gunpoint, took him in the alley, drug him in the alley, sexually assaulted him, left him for dead, and they're getting 4 to 5 years. I wish I had an answer. I wish we had one of the prosecutors here.
Yeah, that's really a prosecutor question, because when you once the arrest is made, that information goes to the prosecutor on filing the charges and what the charges are going to be, and then if they're convicted, then what the sentencing is going to be and what those guidelines are. One of the things that's really important is that we understand that we must lobby for, we have to say something.
Got to vote.
Oh yeah, we got to vote. Oh my God.
I'm saying you got to vote, and those people that you vote for are the ones that represent your interests.
Yes.
And make sure that the policies and legislation is established so things don't happen. And that's what I was saying earlier. So many things have changed, and we don't take stuff seriously. We don't take voting seriously. We don't until it knocks on our door, and we're wondering why this person only got this much amount of time or this amount of time. And I'm sure y'all gonna have somebody from the prosecutor's office on the next panel that's gonna give it to you straight, no chaser, about all of that. So hold tight.
We got 2 hands, 3 hands now. Wait a minute, because we only got 3. We only got 2 more questions. We only got 2. Remember, I'm the expediter. I'm going to make sure we get where we going.
My name is Pat, and I had a comment, mostly for you, Dr. Sabrina. When you talk about trauma and sexual trauma, please encourage counseling. Speak to somebody, whether it be your pastor, a therapist, because that type of trauma stays with you the rest of your life.
Don't talk to your pastor. Go see a therapist, please.
See a therapist.
Well,
so
okay.
Can you comment on therapy?
Okay, so let me say this. I tell people this all the time. You can have Jesus and a therapist.
Absolutely.
So I have friends who are pastors who require people on their ministerial staff once a year to come and see me. And the pastor pays for it. Because even if you're in a seat of ministry, you may still have issues. And those issues, you need to be able to talk about them. And being able to talk about them does not mean that prayer not working. Prayer might have led you to the therapist. So it's important to be able to have both. And so when you have trauma, because sometimes the trauma doesn't even show up until you 50, 60, 70, and then a trigger happens and a memory comes that your brain has locked away to keep you safe. When I tell you that brain is a powerful thing, you skipping around, happy, thinking things great, and then a song happens or a smell happens, and it triggers that memory. Please understand that therapy don't mean you crazy. It don't mean that. I talk to folk all the time. There's a bunch of people in the room I talk to. Dr. Patricia Ferguson sitting right there. I talked to her in the middle of the night. I be, girl, these Negro. Okay. That's what I say. That's what I say. I do. Okay.
Okay.
Hey,
everyone, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Ratanji. Everybody back here wants me to ask my question. I was not going to ask it because I don't want to put anyone on the spot. But I just want to make you guys aware that children and young adults that live with special needs are sexually assaulted at a higher rate than other kids. And they may not always be able to communicate that, and they hold trauma differently. So we have to always remember to watch our kids that have special needs because they are not able to share that. So I was not going to say anything, but my table back here wanted me to say something and bring a light to it. So our kids that are living with special needs, make sure you're paying attention to them because and I did the research, they're sexually assaulted, I think, 30 times greater than a person without a disability.
That is so.
Dr. Ratanji.
Okay, so hold on, because I see the hands going up. I'm not taking not one more question. Not one more. I'm not.
I'm gonna take my husband's question.
Because she got a mic, and she gonna see. That's what she do.
Good afternoon. This is not a question, just a quick comment because I'm also with DPS, and I've been in a DPS system almost 30 years. A lot of the things that these brothers are telling you, I see firsthand. I see young ladies who are under the impression that it's okay to touch a boy inappropriately. When the boy complains about it, you hear the other side where people are saying, you're a boy, you man up, all this. We have a large responsibility. The level of excellence for all of us has been lowered substantially. There's a trend out there, the young hoe trend. You got young ladies, unfortunately, being encouraged to act like this, and they think it's okay. We have a responsibility. When they're saying the things that they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, I see it. It is not okay. It is not okay for a lot of the stuff that we see going on in these schools, especially where I'm at. I'm at 48205. I'm at Fisher Magnet Upper. We right on the edge there. We used to be called the red zone area. A lot of stuff going on. We have to close the gap, and I'm gonna finish with this. Elementary, we're here with our babies. Middle school, we're here. High school, we got to be there even more with our children. Because all of the stuff that they're talking about, that's where they slip through. Everything slips through. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can we give our panel a hand?
Doc, can I say something?
Of course you can. I don't have any control. Go ahead.
I apologize.
Just none.
I just want to say, we have a high volume of cases where young girls told and this, I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings, but where young girls have reported being sexually assaulted to their mothers, and their mothers didn't do anything about it. Please change that. Talk to your friends, talk to your relatives, because these young girls, some may not be telling the truth, but that doesn't make a difference. Follow up on it. Follow up on it. Report the case. Let us investigate it, because we have a high volume of cases where young girls turn around later on in life and report it and say, I told my parent or my mother about it years ago, and they did nothing about it.
Because it was her boyfriend.
So please, if your daughter or your son come and tell you that they were touched inappropriately or something else happened, and I know we have a lot of single parents out there, don't choose a man over your child.
There you go.
Or your woman.
Don't choose a man over your child, please.
Or your woman.
Do not choose a man or woman over your child. If your child comes to you and tell you that they were sexually assaulted or touched inappropriately by the person that you're dating or sleeping with,
thank you.
File a police report, please.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, hold on. Because Chosen has one thing he wants to say, and that's the last thing on this panel. Because if we stay on this panel, we ain't gonna get to the other panel. We ain't gonna get to other things that she has curated for this space today. And so I'm gonna make sure we get to where we're supposed to be going. Go ahead.
Thank you. I thought it was important for me to say this because I wasn't going to, say anything about it. But at the age of 13, I was sexually assaulted by a woman. And like a lot of young men, and men don't tell that, because I was a victim of that, because at that age, I didn't have anybody. I was homeless, so I was vulnerable. And there was a woman that took me out of a restaurant and groomed me and made me think that it would be okay for me to go home with her because I didn't have anywhere to go. And she comforted me, she fed me, and she did things. And, and things, that I wasn't agreeing with. And when I talked about it with friends, young friends when I was young, they all told me that was cool, and they thought that was cool. So they say, yeah, you got one up, you did this, woman, this and that. But the thing about it is that I didn't want it. And that's the thing that bothered me for years, that I didn't want this. And a lot of times young men don't tell because they feel like they're being punked or something, but men think that it's okay, you got one up. But I thought that I was very vulnerable. So I just want to say this to the men out there, and as the song says, boys to men. Boys get abused, and boys go through things and they become men, and a lot of trauma, you carry that into your adulthood. And that's one of the reasons why men don't know how to treat women, because of their childhood trauma. So I think it's very important that you deal with that childhood trauma. If you've been sexually assaulted or damaged when you was a young kid, I think it's very important that you get that taken care of before you go into adulthood, because you'll learn that you'll take all of that with you. And women don't need that. They need strong men in their life. Thank you.
Say it again. Could you say that? Thank you to my male panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Leave your mics.